Hello and welcome to D-Hub MT YouTube channel podcast brought to you by the European Digital Innovation Hub and powered by MDIA, Malta Digital and Innovation Authority. Our guest speaker today is Felice, who is the CEO and co-founder of Simplistaking, which is a startup company focusing on blockchain technology since 2018. Welcome, Matthew.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Something about Simplistaking. What happens here?
Okay. Simplistaking is a startup company. So we've been operating since 2018. Today, we run blockchain infrastructure. What that means is that we allow blockchains to exist.
Okay.
And over time, we do this by operating these blockchain networks, many blockchain networks, over 60, and we secure over $1 billion worth of assets on chain,
Okay.
facilitating transactions that are like tens of millions of transactions with over $1 trillion in value.
So soon you're going to be walking me through this and you're going to
Sure.
explain to me
Yes.
what blockchain is. But before that, I'm curious, who is Felice and how did you end up doing what you do today?
So back in 2018, before I started, I was looking for a job, looking for something to do. I had an opportunity to figure out what to do in the blockchain space. I always wanted to be building cutting edge stuff, to work on technology that is going to be useful in the future, to be building the cutting edge stuff. And that's what excites me, and that's how we started. We started out building this. We were 4 people. Now we're 40, so we grew
Okay.
a lot over time.
And what was your area of expertise before?
I
What
studied-
enticed you?
I studied computer science,
Okay.
so I did a lot of computer science stuff.
So you're coming from that field.
For yes, I never did management, so that was the new part
Okay.
for me. Building something and being an entrepreneur was not something I've ever done. That was the challenge, I would say.
But here you are today.
Here we are today.
And you pulled through that challenge.
Yes.
So, going back to blockchain, if you had to explain to our audience, obviously in simple terms, because I know it can be complex, what is blockchain?
So it's a little tricky, but I'll try to keep it very simple. Blockchain is a database. So a blockchain is a database. Most people understand what a database is, right? So if you go on most websites in the world, in the back end of that, there's a database. But the database is operated by a central service provider. So if you go on Amazon or eBay or Facebook, the database is run by Facebook or Amazon. A blockchain is more of a distributed public database.
Okay.
And some very important features of having a public distributed database is that it allows us to put data on a public distributed database that is verifiable. So I can go 100 years from now, and if all of it works, I can verify that a transaction that I put on the database actually happened. And that's very important because it allows us to verify that, say, a contract happened, that something in time actually happened. And it offers a lot of transparency, which is not always possible with centralized systems. So that is blockchain in a nutshell at a very high level. Maybe we don't go into the details of exactly how it works because
Obviously that can be complex, but at least from that general view, we can get the aspects. How do blockchain's unique features affect the development of customer-centric organization?
So because of the 2 main things that I've discussed, like verifiability and transparency, these are extremely important elements dimensions that customers really care about, right? So let's say you're buying a product. You want to know, where is this product sourced from? Can I verify that something that I bought that says it's Himalayan pink salt is actually Himalayan pink salt, and it's not some salt that someone added, some dye.
And put a name to it.
You know, I know there's a project in Malta that wants to do something like this in Gozo to prove the source of food that is actually produced in Gozo.
Okay.
Again, because it's a public blockchain, we can place these transactions on a blockchain, on a public blockchain, so that then someone else later in time can verify that this product actually was produced with using this material from this farm on this, yielded on this day.
So there's no expiry to this. This would linger on.
This would linger on. So this will be there as long as the system works. So if the system stops working, it doesn't. But as long as it works, this will be there forever. So if I send you, this is one part of it, right? I can go and verify that something happened in the past. The implications of that are pretty huge. So if me and you signed a contract, and it's on chain, it means that someone else can verify that we actually signed this contract. And if there are some clauses to these contracts, what we agreed on is there on chain. No one can ever change it. 100 years from now, it will still be there.
And who is liable for the information given? So who is checking, for example, whether the salt is truly the Himalayan pink salt? And
that's a very
just
good question. Yeah, that's a very good question. So we can put whatever on a blockchain.
Me and you can do a contract that this is water.
Correct. What would need to happen in that case is there's some sort of kind of notary.
Okay.
Right.
That would regulate.
Yeah, that says it's true that this happened.
Okay.
Once someone puts this stamp of approval, then we know it's true. Okay. So even in the case of a contract, like a rent contract, right? Me and you can sign a contract, and maybe someone else notarizes in some way that this is
a neutral person would obviously verify that.
There are complications, and to this, let's maybe not go into that.
Let's not delve in.
Another part is all of this, because all of this is on chain, it will facilitate automation and digital transformation. In a way, once you put these contracts on chain, there's a lot of automation that can happen. So that if me and you sign this contract that says 5 years from now, I pledge that I'm going to send you X amount of money. Then we can make sure that this actually happens. So 5 years from now, whether I like it or not, I will have to send you this amount of money.
Okay.
So we can build systems that allow for this automation. And this is huge for businesses that have like insurance contracts. We all deal in contracts. This is all we deal with. So the potential for digital transformation there is huge. And for a consumer, it gives you peace of mind, right? Because you have verifiability and transparency.
Exactly, and that is important. However, I am sure that there are challenges to this. So what challenges do you encounter?
So there are challenges of the nature of the technology itself. So we're in the very early stages of the technology being developed. And that comes with challenges in and of itself, because sometimes you work on something and it doesn't work. Because, well, everyone thought it might work, but in some circumstances it doesn't, or it takes time to build the technology that actually then changes people's lives. That's one challenge. I think the bigger challenge, so the technology is technology, right? So you're building and working, operating in a space that is cutting edge, it comes with the territory. The main challenges, I would say, they're the same for every business. If you're starting a startup, the challenges will always be the same. You need to understand that whatever you plan probably won't work. You have to know that you're going to fail a lot more than you're going to succeed. Those are the big challenges, right? How to hire the right people, how to manage finances. If someone like me, coming from a computer science background, had to learn all of this, can you hire the right people? How do you manage them? How do you make sure that people understand your vision and deal with failures? Because most of it is failures. That's the truth.
How do you overcome these challenges, even on a human individual level, when you're faced with something? I'm sure there'll be a lot of lessons learned along the way, but how would you face them on a day-to-day basis, and also in terms of also project term, or how do you overcome them?
By working, so there are a few things. First of all, it's important to hire people that are better than you. And then you trust them. Because that allows
that's
you.
heavy. You're hiring someone who's better than you, and you have to trust him or her.
Yes. Because we only have time to do, we only have always like 8 hours, right, to work, 10 hours maybe. So you can't do everything, and you don't know everything. So how do you deal with this? You have to be humble, and you have to be ready to wake up every day and be better. That's how you face them, because the challenges don't stop. The life will never stop kind of throwing challenges at you.
So as an individual also, you have to be strong enough to be able to take them.
And that's probably the hard part, I would say, like how you grow you have to become a better person. Because if you don't, well, then it's hard to really grow a company, I feel.
What do you feel that feeds you as an individual to grow in this way? What special food you have to eat? And I'm not talking on the actual food.
Food is actually important. You have to sleep. It's important that you get your sleep, you get the right food. Because you have to, we're kind of mental athletes. That's what it is, right? So if you go, we all follow like
to exercise your brain.
You have to exercise your brain, you have to exercise your body. And so you can make sure that every day you wake up and you're 100%. You have to be
fit for the job.
You have to be fit for the job. If you think you're going to change the world, or build things that people need, or build big companies, you have to think like you're like a top athlete.
How, going back to the blockchain systems, how do blockchain systems work under the hood? So if you had to explain this to us.
So as we said, so blockchains are these public databases, right? And the difference between the traditional old databases and these public databases is that there isn't necessarily a centralized provider that is running these databases. In this case, these databases are maintained and run and operated by various entities around the world. These run software, and in some way, shape, or form, make sure that these blockchains exist. There's a lot of infrastructure here. If you think about it, it's like having the Go and Melita in Malta, right? They run internet infrastructure. They allow you to receive your messages on Facebook, right, or Instagram, or something like that. There is a level on top of that is these blockchain infrastructure providers. We are one of them. And they make sure that these public databases are there, they're operational, and people can use them, and they're going to be there for the next 10, 20 years. Under the hood, it kind of requires these infrastructure providers. I won't go into more detail because...
But why would, for example, a blockchain need a token to operate?
tokens are important. So what is a token? A token is a data structure. Data structures already exist today on the internet, on your laptops or PCs. All the programs around the world have data structures, right? The difference with tokens is that we added value to these tokens. So today, data structures are passed around on the internet, right? So I can send you information. Blockchains allow us to not only send information, but attach a value to this information.
Okay.
And that is very important because once there's value, it allows us to incentivize the infrastructure providers that we spoke about before. We incentivize them to actually maintain the system running. And then you can build things on top of that. So if there's value in these tokens, then I can transfer value to someone else around the world. I don't need to know who they are. And I can even program these tokens so that, as I said before, we could have a contract. And in this contract, we write that 5 years from now, I'm going to transfer 10 tokens to you. And this happens, and that those tokens have some value associated with them, and they're just automatically transferred.
And this would be done prior to signing the contract. The deal
we decide.
We decide.
It's a contract,
and
so
then
we decide,
okay.
and then we just sign it. Once it's signed, these token transfers can happen. These smart contracts exist, and they can transfer tokens here and there.
Where would you say we are on the path of blockchain technology being widely adopted?
So we're at the early stages. We're in the stages that if we compare this, let's say, to the internet, right? So for whoever is old as us, right? They remember like transferring, like they remember maybe the first static websites. They looked ugly, right? It's true. So first there was email.
I remember connecting to the internet, that looked ugly.
Connecting to the internet looked very ugly. I had to ask my mother to stop, to stop being on the phone so that I can connect with the internet.
I come from the same era, don't worry, I remember it. And hearing that sound.
Yeah,
and hoping and praying that it's going to connect.
Correct. So we're still there.
But listen, this is a fast-moving industry, so we're laughing at this, but we're not talking 100 years ago.
But it's 20, 30 years ago, 40, right? So 20, 30 years ago, we were able to connect to the internet, slow, etc., and being able to see like these crappy websites. Today, like the underlying technology has improved so much that you can have exceptional experiences watching YouTube videos and connecting and sharing and being on live Zoom calls and all of that. If we look at blockchain, where we are still 30, 40 years ago.
Okay.
Right?
Like that, waiting for the internet to connect.
Yes,
it's similar.
Somewhere there,
okay.
Right? Maybe a DSL. So it was a little faster.
So we're not predicting like a 30-year on for a change. I don't believe so. It would be probably closer, no?
So we started to see 30 years ago still.
Okay.
You were able to go on Google. Google existed somehow. Facebook came up, Twitter. So all these concepts started to come up. They weren't as evolved as they are today, but they were still important changes, right? We are in this phase where we're understanding the potential, like the first versions of the products that are going to be really important 30 years from now. So we're somewhere there, right? And sometimes a bit more evolved. Most of the time, it's going to require a little more. But if we don't invest today, this change will never happen.
And that brings me to our final question, in fact, Matthew. If you had to see where we are now and maybe predict where we'll be heading, what would your message to our audience be in terms of blockchain technology?
In terms of
You mentioned investment, but I don't know if you have any other.
in terms of blockchain technology, so I invite, maybe I'll answer that in two parts.
Okay.
I invite people to not confuse blockchain with cryptocurrencies.
Okay.
They're not necessarily the same. Blockchain is a technology that is going to be very, very useful. And it will really revolutionize the way that we interact as humans, especially across countries, right? So, yeah, that if they leave with anything, it's that. Don't confuse blockchain with cryptocurrencies.
So that's an
Cryptocurrencies
important message.
are the values that we give to certain tokens. That's it.
Okay.
Then, to whoever wants to build a startup or is interested in working in tech, just do it. Just do it. Surround yourself with people who are better than you. And in all of it, like, work hard, but be humble and be kind.
How lovely.
That's how you build a better world.
That's a beautiful message. Thank you for being on today's podcast. That was Matthew Felice Patch, who is the CEO and co-founder of Simply Staking. Thank you for watching us, and we'll catch you again next time.